Welcome to God and Jesus Christ Ministries, and I am your host, Minister Matthews. And tonight we're going to open up our series. It's a four-week series in our Bible study on the city on the hill. And the title of this is Be the Salt and Light. And we're going to open up in Matthew chapter 5, verse 13 to 16. And Jesus tells his followers that they are the salt of the earth and they are the light of the world. Now, as we look, you want to know, and this is a metaphor that Jesus uses. Salt, we use salt to put on our food. We use salt to preserve food. Back in earlier times, they used salt to preserve food. If you ever notice, if you have older grandparents, they put a little salt or sugar in, put food in a jar, and they preserve it to make it last longer. So that's what salt is. Light is the light that we see. The light that you see is what he says. Is you don't put a light up under, men won't put a light up under the bed to hide from the dark. So we are to be this. And as believers, we are called to bring goodness and truth to the world. So as believers, we must bring truth and goodness to the world. And the light is to illuminate things that are in the darkness. But let's ask yourself, what happens when salt loses its flavor and light is hidden? Salt loses its flavor. You don't taste anything. It doesn't taste right. It's not right. Light is hidden, it's dark. You can't see, you're blinded. And this is what some believers are. They lost their faith. They lost their belief. They're blinded because they don't see what's in front of them. They don't see the light. So let us kind of explore how this plays in our lives, and how the calling for us to be salt and light of the world for today's time. So let's take salt. Like I said before, it still is a valuable commodity. Some of the old folks, they still use it to preserve their jar of pears and apples and fruit. Some do it to preserve meat. They put salt on their meat, send it in, wrap it up, put it in the refrigerator or thing to preserve it for a little bit, and it keeps its flavor and it preserves the food. So we are the same. We should be salt. We should have a flavor to ourselves, meaning we should bring things. People should have. We should have a flavor to the way we do things and how we do things, and bring life to people. We shouldn't lose our flavor, because we'll become useless to people. We should have our comforting, our compassion, and if we lose that, we're useless. If I can't be comforting to you, I can't have compassion to you, we're useless. We must intentions to living out our faith, and not conforming to the way of the world. So, in that sense, we should not be trying to be like everybody else in the world. We should be ourselves and not like everybody else. Our actions and our words should bring hope, love, and grace to those around us. So the words we use should build people up, not tear them down. But in some cases, depending on what you're in, and if you're in the military, when you go into the military, they tear you down and they build you up because they want to toughen you for what you're going to experience. The same in football. When you play football, you get there, the coaches kind of tear you down. They don't destroy you, but they tear you down a little, but to build you back up, to give you the encouragement that you need, so that you can help everybody else. You can be of use to your quarterback and everybody else. So we should be the same way within the world. We should be useful to everybody else that's in the world. When we look at the light, Jesus compares believers to a city on the hill that cannot be hidden. If you see a city on the hill and you turn the lights on in the house, you see the light. If you ever see you're on the sea and you look, there's a lighthouse, and the lighthouse is a high land, is up high, so you can see it. So we are called to shine brightly in a dark world. So the way the world is right now, we should be shining lights. We should have a shining light about ourselves in right now, and not be of darkness. Our lives should reflect the love and trust that Christ in everything we do. So your life, my life, and everybody else that is a follower of Christ, their things that they do, their works that they do, should show that example of who they are. Without you saying they are a follower of Christ, it should show those examples. That's what it should be. It should show the examples. In everything we do, whether we're just talking to somebody, we should be very easy to talk to people, very humbling, very compassionate, listening. We got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen more, talk less. Open your eyes to see what the person that you're looking at is talking about. We are called to be a beacon, meaning that light that shines. We should be that light, that lighthouse that's shining, and the person's out in the sea and they're lost and they're in the fog and they can't see and they don't know where they're going, and then they see that light. Now they can come in to land, because the land is where all the believers are, and that believers out there on that foggy ocean in that darkness, and now they see the light of other believers and they come to that light. And a beacon of hope and of source of light in the world, in a world that is filled with darkness. So this is what we are. We're a lighthouse for those that are lost. We are the preservers for those that need flavor in their life, compassion, comfort, humbleness. That's what we are. Now, the hard part is living out this calling that you got. And when we live out this calling, as believers, we have a responsibility to be the salt and light in our community. Now, me living in New York, I was back then when I lived in New York in 1986, from 86 to 1992, I was a New York City Auxiliary police officer in my community. And every Monday night, I put on that uniform and I patrol the streets for 4 hours. When I moved to New Jersey, I became what they would probably call a community activist. I considered myself a community leader, not an activist. A community activist in the schools, in the schools, everything. So I was that beacon. When people saw me, they knew who I was. They knew, here's a person who's fighting for me. Here's a person who I can go to. He's a source that I can speak to. How can I help my kid? I was also a football coach, which I still am a football coach. In the town of Linden, where I live, I'm a football coach. I've been a football coach there for now 7 years. Football and baseball. And still the same thing. I'm a beacon to the kids because the kids see me. They, hey, coach, how you doing? That's who I am to them. So in your community, you should be that beacon of light. You should be that salt, that one with the flavor. Also, our actions should point others to Christ and bring glory to God. Now, without me saying I'm a follower of Christ or I'm a Christian, but by me being in the community, doing the things I do, people look at me. They come to me for advice. They come for me to be a part of me, to be with me, to talk to me, to allow me to coach their children and mentor their children. I'm that beacon. I'm that light in the community. And whether you believe it or not, that brings them closer to God, because their children will be on a path of goodness, hopefully, and have a little sense of morals to them and a sense of wanting to be good, and it brings the glory. Because people who go to church and know me will be like, oh, he's a good person. Also, we must be intentional in our witness. Now that means in our words and our deeds, meaning being true in what we do. So in our truth and in our words, in our actions. So be true in your actions, be true in your words, be true in whatever you do. Bring it from the heart, meaning sincere help, sincere love, sincere everything. So let us not hide our faith, people. Don't be complacent. Don't hide your salt. Don't hide your light. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let that light shine. Let that light shine out from that hill. Be that city on top of the hill. Be that lighthouse on top of the hill. Don't be complacent in your calling. When I got this calling, I didn't know what it was. till I started seeing the people I was meeting, and I started seeing what it was becoming. So let us rise up and be the salt and the light that God has called us to be. Once again, I'm just going to say, let us rise up and be the calling of the light. Let us be the calling of the salt and the light that God wants us to be. And in my conclusion, as we reflect on the words of Jesus Christ in Matthew 5, chapter 5, 13 to 16, which is the beginning of the Sermon on the Mountain. Chapter 5, 6, and 7 are the Sermon on the Mountain. So let us be reminded of our calling to be the salt and light in the world that is desperately needed. Let us not lose our flavor or hide our light, but let us boldly shine for Christ in all that we do. May we be the beacon of hope and of sorts of love to those around us, bringing glory to God in everything that we do. Let us go forth and live out our calling, us as believers who are the salt and light of the world. And with that, I would like to say good evening, and we're going to do City on the Hill. Remember, this is a 4-part series, and we'll do City on the Hill next Wednesday, and that will be in the book of James. And if you go to the podcast under the series, you will see the announcement for the book of James and where you'll see it. And if you go to the prayer, the announcement on the prayer line, it will be there, and you will have the site to come to see to come into the seat alive. And until then, God bless. Good night.